How's everyone tonight?
Good.
I am too. Remember I told you I was going to bring raffle tickets? I brought them. So happy to be here for our third night. If you've been here any of the other two nights, welcome back. If tonight is your first night, you are very, very welcome. Do we have a timekeeper? Yes, sir. What's your name?
Parker.
Parker? How you doing?
Good.
How old are you? 13. Excellent age. Do you have a watch? A phone. Again, a phone. Okay, very good, Parker. Parker, you'll be our timekeeper. Let's say at 8 o'clock, okay? You must leap out of your pew and say, it's 8 o'clock, Father Tom. Okay? Can you do it? If we're still here at 10:30, don't blame me. Blame Parker. They all know your name now. Awesome. Okay, very good. Thank you. Oh, thank you. No worries. Thank you. A week ago tonight, last week, I was in Brighton, New Jersey, finishing a third night of the mission, but I was staying at Villanova University. It was about an hour, a little bit over an hour drive into literally the middle of nowhere through Christmas tree farms. So it was a rainy night, dark night. I had my classmate's car, and I had to go fill the car up with gas at the university right by, or the gas station is right behind the stadium. And because of that, it had me go through these side roads instead of going to 476, the turnpike, not the turnpike, but the expressway. Dark, rainy, crowded. It was about 5:15 in the afternoon. And I go to turn, and I hit a curb. And all of a sudden, the thing comes out in the car, and the whole front tire goes flat. These hands have never changed the tire. I won't even know what to do with the tire. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And it was in this residential area. I drove, luckily the tire didn't explode, and I had to drive about a mile and a half to get to a main drag. And I said, there's no way I'm going to make this. I said, I'm going to have to pull into a McDonald's parking lot and talk into my phone, and someone at the other end is going to have the phone to a microphone in the church. I said, that's the only way I'm going to be able to do this talk. Well, as I get to the main drag, there's right on the corner, Mr. Tire, a tire shop. And I'm like, this can't be true. So I turn around and I said, it looks like it's open. So I get there, I go in, and I said, I have a flat tire, are you open? He said, sure, no problem. Within 13 minutes, I was back on the road. See how God works? That should never have happened. And then when I called my classmate, he said, there's no spare. Because a lot of these cars now, I guess they don't have spares. I never heard of that. I have AAA, and I said to the guy, we were talking behind the counter, I said, if I called AAA, what would have happened? He said, they would have just towed your car somewhere. And by this time it was 5:30. What's open? So I tell you that story because, knock on wood, I've never missed a mission in 23 years. And I haven't yet. See how God works? Now you might say it was just a coincidence. A coincidence that I go through a mile and a half of this dark residential area, and then I come to the first stoplight in this main drag, and there's Mr. Tire on the corner? And do you know, by the time I got there, I called the lady who was my connection there. I got there at 7:02. I was 2 minutes late. Thank you, Jesus. See, friends, the restless journey is we just go. Just go with it. Just go with it. One of the professors I had for preaching in the seminary, he told us, he said, A to Z, A to Z, A to Z, A to Z. And what he said is, start at A, get to Z, no matter what happens in between, because it's going to happen. A to Z. That's good for life. A to Z. Start at A, get to Z, no matter what happens in between, because it's going to happen. And so, why are you here tonight? You know why? God wanted you here. You know why I'm here? Because in 1976, you know the story, okay? But also because God wanted me here. And so, I tell you that story of a week ago tonight because I really thought I wasn't going to make it. But God provided. And He said, you know what? I want you to be there for those people. God takes care of us. It's not always the way we think or the way we might like, but God always takes care of us. So tonight we're going to look at how do we live out the restless journey. How do we delve into it, then how do we live it out? And so, remember our prayer is the prayer of St. Augustine. You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you. The restlessness in his Sermon 169 that says, never be satisfied with where you are, because you'll never get to where you could be. So we'll do this on the day of St. Lucy. In our Advent journey, St. Lucy was a martyr, and that's why we're wearing red. You'll notice I'm wearing this white stole. I wear this at every mission for the last 23 years. I wear it on the last night. And I tell everyone that I'm going to embroider the name of the parish spiritually into the stole, because the 5 families that gave me this stole 28 years ago embroidered their names in it. So I am now embroidering St. Joseph Parish, Bradley. And from now on, every time I wear this, the next time I wear this is next week in Silver City, New Mexico, wherever that is. Okay? And I'm going to be wearing it. And I'm going to remember you. That's my gift to you, is that every time I wear this stole, I will remember you, and I put in my funeral arrangements that I want to be buried in this stole. Because it's special, because every mission is special to me. So it's my little thank you to you, and thank you for what you're doing for me. So, how do we live out the restless journey? When I was a seminarian, I had what is called the pastoral year. And actually, that's where I got this stole from 5 families I met in Grosse Pointe Park, Detroit, where I was stationed at a parish. It was right on the Detroit-Grosse Pointe border. Half the parish was in Detroit, half the parish was in Grosse Pointe. So I was, what we do is we take a year out from our studies to go live in a regular Augustinian community and to work for the year. And really to see, is this what I want to do? Because this is kind of like a year-long internship, so to speak. But you're actually doing ministry. So I was not a priest yet. I was Brother Tom, and I got the nickname Bro T, because one of the moms made me a tea bag for Halloween, because I was very active in the school, the grammar school. There were about 600 kids, and so everyone called me Bro T. So I really got to know the junior high. And the junior high teachers, there were 4 of them, and one of them, her name was Terry, and Terry was a wonderful fanatical woman. She was fanatical about math, which she taught. She was fanatical about Michigan State. She had a room in her house where everything from the carpet to the wallpaper to the Christmas tree that was up 365 days a year with all Michigan State ornaments. I ended up doing her funeral, like years later, and I said, I'm at her casket, I said, Terry, I thought you'd have a Michigan State casket. But she was also then fanatical about Elvis Presley. Now, I was there in 1991. Some people were still thinking Elvis was alive. Okay, do you ever remember that? Oh, there was an Elvis sighting. Well, I was traveling during the spring break with a buddy of mine who was a Franciscan seminarian who was getting ordained, and he was looking at different parishes where he might be assigned. And one of them was in Memphis. So he asked if I wanted to go on this little trip through the South. I said, sure. Never been to Memphis, never been to the other places. So we went. Well, when Terry found out I was going to Memphis, do you know what's in Memphis? Graceland. She says, oh, bro T, you gotta go, you gotta go. I said, yeah, no, I plan on going. I think that'd be a great, cool thing to see. She said, would you do me a favor? I said, what's, sure, I guess, what? She said, would you put a rose on Elvis's grave for me? I said, sure, that's an easy thing. I can put a rose on his grave. Well, I get there. Anyone ever been to Graceland? Okay, I was actually a little disappointed. It just looked like a house from the 70s with shag carpeting on the walls, okay? And then outside was where Elvis Presley's buried. Well, so we get there, and I should have known something was up when outside there were carts everywhere with people selling roses. I guess that's a thing, to put roses on Elvis's grave. I didn't know that. So I buy the rose for Terry, and I go in, and we go through the house, and I go outside, and there was his grave, and there were about 20 wailing women that were all, his music was playing, and they're crying, they're wailing, they're all by his grave. And I'm sitting there saying, I gotta go over there in the midst of all those women and put this rose on Elvis's grave. And Dan, who was the Franciscan, he says, well, you said you're gonna do it, you gotta do it. You gotta be a man of your word. And you said you'd get a picture. I got the camera ready. Now this was 1991, so it was not on your phone, it was an actual camera. I said, well, Mark, I'm gonna go over there and I'll do it real quickly, get the picture real quickly, and then we're out of here. He said, okay. Well, he had other plans. So I go over there, and I'm getting in between the wailing women, and I'm standing there with the rose, and they're all thinking this is the most unbelievable thing. And they're all like, oh, it's so nice, you've come to give Elvis a rose. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'm kind of like, I'm leaning down like this, okay? I said, now Dan, get the picture. Oh yeah, I'm working on it. Yeah, the camera's not really working. Well, I got to make sure it works. I said, take the picture. And I'm like this, and all the wailing women are going. And I said, would you take the stupid picture? So finally he takes it. I drop the rose, and I run. And all the wailing women are, bye, bye. And then I got out there and I slapped him around. He was laughing. He said, oh, you look like a fool in there. But see, I was a man of my word. If you're going to enter the restlessness, you got to live by what you say. If you say something, are you going to do it? Or do you become a wishy-washy wet noodle and you don't do it and you don't live up to your word? I lived up to my word, and I have a picture of putting a rose on Elvis's grave in the midst of 20 wailing women. So, I was starting a class at St. Rita, first day of the class, and a kid comes up to me. These were juniors. It was a junior morality class. Comes in and said, Father Tom, what do I need to do to get a D in your class? I said, excuse me? What do I need to do to get a D? I said, your goal is to get a D. Yeah. I said, that's awful. Why? I said, just, you're going to slide by? He said, D's get diplomas. I said, that should not be your goal in life, to just slide by. So I said to him, I'm not going to tell you what you need to get a D, because you're not going to get a D, and you're going to work hard, and I'm going to make sure you work hard. And if you don't, I'm going to push you to work hard. See, friends, some of us can go through the restless journey of life and say, what do we have to do to just get by? What do we have to do? And if somebody tells you, oh, do it this way, it's real easy, run from them and run fast. Nothing in life of worth is that easy. It takes time. It takes effort to enter into and to do your best. So, friends, how are you living life? Are you living life to the full, each and every day? Live life to the day you die. Father Tom, that's stupid. Of course I'm going to live life to the day I die. No, some people have stopped living. Some people give up. Some people won't live. Or are you going to just slide by? Don't just slide by. Because that is not what God wants us to do. And entering the restlessness is moving from here and moving to here. Making progress always. And I hope and pray we will all do that. Faith is a gift, and the restless journey is a gift. What do you do with gifts? What do we do with gifts? There's several things we can do with a gift. We can either use the gift, we can take the gift and throw it in the closet, in the back of the closet. In 5 years, when we clean the closet out, we'll get rid of the gift. We'll look for that ever benevolent, wonderful gift receipt and return it, especially when Grandma gives us the onesie pajamas with the little feet that look like you're a rabbit. Okay? Or you can regift it. Does everyone know what regifting means? Okay, you're in church, don't lie. Who has ever regifted? I have, okay. I was the victim of a regift. Would you like to hear my victimization story? Well, whether you like it or not, I'm going to tell it to you, okay? I was the victim. For my ordination, I received from another Augustinian a gorgeous, beautiful 1992 leather-bound calendar. This was before phones where you had everything on your computer. And I really did like the calendar. It was really nice. Had a place for the notebook, had a place for your calculator, pens, your business cards. And it was really, really nice. And at first I was like, this is great. Then I realized I'm the victim of a regift. It was a 1992 calendar. I was ordained in 1994. So when you regift a calendar, please make sure you are in the correct year. I was the victim. Now you might think I don't like regifting. I love regifting. Have you ever heard the phrase, keep the faith? Someone ever said, keep the faith? That's only half of it. I want to say, keep the faith and give it away. Keep the faith and give it away. See, our faith, our journey is not just about me, 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 me. Our gift of faith should be about us, 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 us. We should share our faith, give it away. Keep it, but give it away. And how do we keep giving it away? By filling it up. And how do we do that? By keeping a relationship with God, celebrating the sacrament. We keep filling up our life with faith, and then we keep giving it away. The best thing we need to do is get filled up in this church and then go out these doors and give the faith away. Do you know you might be the only Bible someone reads by the way you live your life? And if you want to bring someone along, maybe someone who doesn't have a faith, someone who's fallen away from the faith, the best way to evangelize is live your faith to the full and be happy. There's nothing worse than a miserable Christian, okay? Someone who frowns and someone who's always depressing. Don't be a miserable Christian. Remember the reading the other day? They were grumbling. Don't be a grumbler. You want to be happy, live your faith, and people are going to say, I want what you have. Then you can say, let me show you what I have, and bring them to Jesus. So gifts are so important. I remember as a little kid, and remember, you don't turn smart until you turn 7. You know, remember that. So I was 6, and my Uncle Joe, who I now know was a very wealthy man. I did not know that when I was 6, because I wasn't smart. So he always gave us $5 bills. Now, this was like, 1970s, early 70s. You get a $5 bill in 1970? That's like getting a $50 bill today. And his money was always brand new. You know how new money feels? So I was in the car once with him, and I said, Uncle Joe, why does your money always feel new like this? He said, oh, I printed in the basement. And I went, oh. I didn't laugh. I said, oh, I wasn't smart yet. I was 6. I thought that's what he did. But then I turned 7, and I turned smart. I said, Uncle Joe, we need to have a talk. He said, sure, what do you want to talk about? I said, I'm very grateful for receiving the nephew gifts my whole life, 6 years. Because I'm the 4th of 5 kids. So all of us got these unbelievable gifts. But Uncle Joe, you seem to be forgetting that I am also your godson. And I just thought you'd want to know that I've kind of been gypped out my whole life of godson gifts. See, I'm getting the nephew gift, but I'm not getting the godson gift. And he said, oh, thanks for letting me know. I said, no problem. My mother found out. She wasn't happy. I don't think I sat for a week. But you know, sometimes a little pain is worth the gain. You know why? From that moment on, I always got 2 gifts. I got the nephew gift and I got the godson gift. But see, that's how you think about gifts when we're kids. It's all about me, 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 me. I was watching one of the late night shows once. I think it was Jay Leno, so it was several years ago. And they had this series of watching little kids open their Christmas gifts. So there was this one kid, he looked to be about 5. And he's there at the Christmas tree and he had a big, big wrapped package. And he's tearing it open. It was a stack of books. And the little kid says, books! Books! Books aren't gifts! Books aren't gifts! He was so upset. Because what did he want at 5? Toys. What's the worst thing, even worse than books, you'd give to a kid? Clothes. Then why do we give them clothes? That's like, happy anniversary, honey, and here's a toaster, you know? I mean, you don't do that. Okay? Worse would be a vacuum cleaner. Okay? So, gifts are important. We all receive them. We all give them. But then you get to a point where it's more fun to give gifts. Anyone realize that? How fun it is to give a gift? How about when we find the perfect gift for someone? I can remember when I was probably about 10. And near our house was a dime store, which for our young people would be equivalent to the dollar store today. And they had a jewelry counter in the dime store. You imagine what that was like, okay? Well, I found a bingo card necklace because my mother liked to play bingo with my aunt. So I said, I'm going to buy my mother that bingo card necklace and she'll wear it all the time, and maybe to bring her luck. So I bought, I think it was $1.29, and I had to pay 3 cents for the box. So I wrapped it up, put it under the tree. I couldn't wait till Christmas because I knew my mother was going to love this, and I wanted to just see her face. So Christmas morning comes, we're all sitting there opening our gifts, and my mother opens it, and it's the bingo card necklace, and she says, oh, Tom, this is beautiful, this is wonderful. She put it on. She says, I love it, thank you. She gave me a big hug. I was so happy, I then went running off to play with my toys. She wore it all day. I never saw her wear it again. And if she did, she probably would have had a green ring around her neck because it was so cheap. But fast forward 31 years, my mother died. My sisters and I were going through all her stuff. She had a jewelry box. In the back of one of the drawers of the jewelry box, guess what I found? The bingo card necklace. My mother never wore it. I can understand why today, but she never got rid of it. And how many times when she was going through her jewelry counter, or her jewelry box, and she saw that, and maybe she touched it, maybe she brought back memories that she knew I gave it her. She never got rid of it. Do you know you and I have all given people bingo card necklaces? Little gifts, little things. If I go into a lot of your homes, what am I going to find on your refrigerator? Pictures, drawings from little kids, your grandkids, the neighbor kids, your nieces and nephews, right? Because what do little kids do? They always make little pictures and we get them, right? It's pretty unbelievable. It's pretty awesome. Gifts are so important. And the gift of restlessness is so important. Why are you here? You know why you're here? God wants you here. Some of you have been here all 3 nights. Some of you have been here 2 nights. Tonight's your first night. But the fact that you're here, you said yes. You said yes to an invitation. And do you know who you just gave a gift to? Jesus Christ. He is dancing for joy that you are here. Dancing for joy. Because that's what a parish mission is all about. And I hope during these nights, I've maybe made you think a little bit. Maybe made you think a little bit differently. Maybe made you think of something you haven't thought of in a while. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And friends, the restless journey is not all negative. Mostly it's positive if we move it the right way. My friend Dan, the Franciscan, the one who had fun with me at the grave of Elvis when he was pretending not to take the picture. He's from Erie, Pennsylvania, and we went once, we took the train out. I remember that. I'd never really taken a train before. And we went to Erie, Pennsylvania, and I was visiting his family. And he said, oh, I want to go over to the Sisters of Mercy Mother House in Erie, because I want to visit one of my high school teachers who is one of the nuns that's retired there. So we go over there. Now Dan is what you call a ditz. Okay? Nothing against the blondes here, but he was a blonde. He was a real blonde, and he was a blonde to the stereotype, okay? He was a ditz. So as we're going there, I said, now Dan, you did call ahead to see if Sister would be home. Well, no, she's a nun. She'll be there. I said, what do you think, nuns just sit there and wait for you to ring the doorbell? So we get there, ring the doorbell, and this little nun, this little tiny nun with a little blue veil, her name was Sister Pauline. She answered the convent door. We said, hello, Sister. He said, we're here to see Sister, whatever her name was. She says, well, I don't know if she's home, but I'll check. So she sends us into a little parlor. She comes back about 10 minutes later. She said, well, Sister's not home, but maybe she'll be home soon. And she was carrying this tray with nice china cups and a pot of coffee. Now, I still to this day have never drank a cup of coffee. I like the smell, I can't stand it. I've taken sips. I don't know how you who drink it, I don't know how you drink it. It's like, whoa! When an 88-year-old nun sticks a cup of coffee in front of you, guess what you do? I drank about half of it. It was like, oh, this is horrid. So we got talking with Sister Pauline. When she found out I was an Augustinian, she says, oh, I was Brother Tom. She said, Brother Tom, I have a great devotion to St. Rita, who's an Augustinian saint. And I said, oh, Sister, I said, you know, I do too. And I said, I wear, this is a replica of her wedding ring that I wear. She said, wow, and she saw it. And I said, yeah, I wear it as a sacramental to be faithful the way she was. So we had a nice little conversation about St. Rita. Well, when I got home, well, I digress. When we left, I hit Dan in the head again. I'm always hitting him in the head because he's doing stupid things like not calling ahead. He says, well, we met Sister Pauline. I said, that's true. That was a really nice thing. So Sister Pauline and I became pen pals. She was 88 years old, and I sent her a little care package from our shrine gift shop, a little statue, prayer cards. And I said, here, Sister, here's a bunch of prayer cards. Pass them around to the other sisters. Well, fast forward about a year, Dan was ordained. So I went back to Erie to go to his first Mass at his home parish. Well, I went to see Sister Pauline because we became friends through pen pal. But I called ahead to make sure she was there. And she was there, and we had a wonderful visit. And then she goes into her pocket and she pulls out this tissue that's all beautifully folded. She said, Brother Tom, I want you to have this. I said, oh, well, thank you. So I opened it up, and it was a relic of St. Peter, the first pope. And I said, wow. She said, my brother was a Jesuit priest who died about 10 years ago, and this was his. And I want you to have it. I said, sister, are you sure? She says, you are going to be ordained soon, and I want you to have this. My brother had it, then you'll have it, and that would make me so happy if you take it. I said, sister, I'm touched, I'm honored, and of course I will take it. Well, to this day, I have that relic in my bedroom. And I think of Sister Pauline, because it was then, after a Christmas, that I got a note from the Mother Superior with Sister's memorial card that she had died. She was 94 when she died, so I known her. I was a pen pal with her for 6 years. And so that was not a sad thing. I was happy for her. She got reunited with her brother, with her parents, with Jesus, and that's a good thing. She met St. Rita, and I said, this is wonderful. But I still remember her because of that relic. Do you have gifts like that? Do you have gifts that people have given you that just mean so much? And have you ever given a gift that means that to someone else? See, friends, that's what the restlessness in living it out is to be in relationship with each other. Each night I've been here, I've walked into church by myself. But I know I'm never alone because I'm with you. Maybe you walked into church by yourself. No one's alone here. We're all together, and that's our faith. And what are we gathered around this altar? To receive the Eucharist. We're all in this restless journey together. I met who's become a friend of mine. Her name's Maureen. And I met her through the St. Rita Shrine in Chicago, where I am the director. It's at St. Rita High School, which, by the way, you're always invited. Every first Thursday of the month, we have a novena Mass at 7 p.m. at the St. Rita Shrine. It's a perpetual every first Thursday. You're always welcome. Don't say it's too far. I drove here every night. It's not that far. It's about an hour, maybe 55 minutes. Real easy, right up 57. So Maureen comes to me. This was, I don't know, 20 years ago maybe. And she told me her story. That's the thing I like about Shrine Ministry. You hear everyone's stories. Because nobody has to be in church on the first Thursday of every night. And we get hundreds of people that come. So Maureen told me that she was high school sweethearts with a man by the name of Ray Reiki. And I was on the football team at St. Rita, and Maureen was a cheerleader. And they were high school sweethearts. Well, right after high school, Ray goes to the, I can never remember, it's not National Guard, it's the, no, it wasn't a reserved. It's one of the academies he went to, but not, Merchant Marine, thank you. That's exactly what Ray was. He was in the Merchant Marine Academy, and he played football for them. They got married right after high school, and they got pregnant right away. He then was sent, this was 1969, he was sent to Vietnam. And on December 26, 1969, his whole ship was sunk. And every man on that, well, there could have been women on there too, I don't know, but everyone was killed. And they never recovered any bodies. And so Maureen told me what it was like to be a 19-year-old widow, pregnant. And she said, I listened to people who told me I should never have a funeral. Because if you have a funeral, you're giving up on Ray. There's no way he's alive. The whole ship is at the bottom of the ocean. But the one thing she said I did do is I bought a 3-foot statue of St. Anthony, and I donated it to the shrine. And in 1990, the shrine, St. Rita High School, moved 14 blocks into the old Quigley South, so everything was moved. And she said, Father Tom, do you think that statue is still here? I don't see it. I said, I remember that statue from when I was a student at the old high school. So I went downstairs where they had we had stuff from the old campus, and I found it. It was a little beaten up, and it was a little chipped and all that. Well, she was so happy. She said, Father, I'm going to pay, and I want it restored, and can we put it up? I said, we'll put it right there, and I showed her where we're going to put it. She said, but there was also a dedication plate. I said, I didn't see that, but I'll look again. So one day that week, I go down there with another one of the Augustinians, and we're walking, and I back into this huge garbage pile of boxes. They all fell over. Clank, clank, clank. Out came the dedication plate. It was stuck under a flap of a box. If I didn't knock it over, we would never have found it. Well, Maureen was so happy. So when you come visit me at the St. Rita Shrine, you can see the statue, because I did pray to St. Anthony. I said, now go find yourself, okay? And he did. And you'll see the beautiful restored statue with the original plate and a new dedication plate. So fast forward many years, and it was 2009. And Maureen said it's going to be the 40th anniversary of Ray's death. She said, do you think we can have a memorial mass and maybe give him the mass he never had? I said, that'd be great. She said, I just want me, my daughter, and her husband. So there were going to be 4 of us at the shrine. December 26th in the late afternoon. It was cold, it was dark, the school was empty. And I said, well, I want to take you to the front of the school where we have a museum for the first 100 years. And every man, alumnus from St. Rita, from World War I through the Vietnam War, who was killed, is listed. I want to show you Ray's name. So we go up to the front of the school, we go in, and they were so happy taking pictures, all that Ray is there. And even in our football program, there's the Ray Reike Award. So there's an award named after him. So there was the student, the athletic wing, there's doors that are locked, and the kids always have to come in the back. They know that. I'm in the front, and the whole school's empty except for the wrestlers, because wrestlers practice every day, okay, during the winter season, even on Christmas and everything else. So one of the students walked through that door that should have been locked, walked out the front door, which he wasn't supposed to do, and that's where we were. And he said, hi, Father Tom, Merry Christmas. I said, Merry Christmas, Ray. And Ray looked at the 3 of them and said, hi, folks. How you doing? Merry Christmas. And he walked out the front door. And Maureen and her daughter, their jaws just dropped. What was her husband's name? What was that boy's name? We had 2 Rays in the whole school. That was Ray Maloney. The other Ray is my nephew. So my dad was named Ray. My middle name is Raymond. And I'm like, oh my God. On the 40th anniversary of him being lost at sea, this 15-year-old boy walks through a door he wasn't supposed to go through. It was supposed to be locked. And he met us at the exact moment that we just happened to be there in this empty building. And he says, hi, folks. Merry Christmas. Maureen said, she said, I've been totally healed because that young boy named Ray was used by God to tell me that my Ray is in heaven and everything's fine. It changed her life. When school came back, I called Ray into my office and I told him the story. You know what he did? He went, whoa. That means, wow, that's great. And I ended up doing his wedding. And I told that story at his wedding. Every one of us have been a Ray Maloney, and every one of us have been a Maureen, where we need things done. So folks, how are you? Do you ever have stories like that? Do you ever have things that happen that way? And it's all real. God doesn't play with us. God is not Lucy on St. Lucy's Day. You know what I mean by that? Who's Lucy from Charlie Brown? You remember? She always held the football, and Charlie always said she's going to hold it this time. Did she ever hold it? Never. God is not Lucy. God doesn't dangle things and then pull it up and go, ha, 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 ha. God doesn't do that. God is always with us. And when you have signs like that, they're real. People ask me, is this real? I said, God wouldn't play with you. He would not play with you. So when you have a sign like that from a loved one who's in heaven, it's real. Don't look for the signs. Let the signs happen. I want to tell you a story of the fourth day of my high school career at St. Rita. I was in the lunchroom. There were 4 lunchrooms. And 200 kids in each lunchroom. There were 1,600 boys at St. Rita at the time. 800 ate lunch 4th period, 800 ate lunch 5th period. And in each lunchroom of the 200, there were 2 pop machines. 4th day of my high school career. True story. I am not anyone in the story, but I witnessed the entire thing. I was sitting there, and I was in band, so I was in the band camp, so I knew a lot of kids already. But in the room, there were juniors, seniors, freshmen, sophomores. Everyone's just trying to fit in. 4th day of their high school. Beginning of a new year. For us freshmen, our new career. So I'm sitting there, and a little freshman goes up, and he was shorter than most. He goes up to the pop machine. He puts in, back then, probably 30 cents. He's about to press, I think he wanted root beer. And all of a sudden, this jerk sophomore comes, pushes him, presses the pop, steals his pop, and said, "Thanks, you stupid little freshman." And then everyone starts to laugh, except the freshman. And the poor freshman was sitting there like a deer in the headlight look, hoping he doesn't cry or wet his pants. 6.5 seconds later, the jerk sophomore is being yanked like this back to the pop machine. Not by a teacher, there were no teachers in the room. By the student council president, Eddie Duffy. 6'3", 350 pounds, defensive tackle, huge shoulders, big head, no neck. You could hear a pin drop in that room. And Eddie says, "We don't do this at St. Rita." He said to the jerk, sophomore, "Put 30 cents in the machine." So the jerk puts it in. And he goes to the little freshman, "Kid, what pop you want?" And he's like, No, he said, "Seriously, what pop you want?" He said, "Root beer." So he presses root beer. Eddie takes the root beer, takes the other can that the sophomore stole, gave both cans to the freshman, said, "Look it, kid, today you're getting 2 cans of pop for the price of 1. You're having a great day." He's like, "Ah." And then he said to the jerk sophomore, Eddie Duffy, 6'3", 350 pounds, defensive tackle, captain of the football team. The year before, when he was a junior, they won the state championship. He said to the jerk sophomore, he said, "For the next 5 days, you will meet this freshman kid here at this pop machine. You will put in 30 cents and you will say, 'What kind of pop would you like today?' And then you're going to hand him a can of pop for the next 5 days that you're going to buy for him. And if you don't do it, you'll deal with me." 6'3", 350 pounds, huge shoulders, big head, no neck. And the jerk sophomore goes, okay. He said, "Get out of here." And he kind of walks away like this, and everyone starts to like, ha, laugh. And the poor little freshman is just sitting there, holding 2 cans of pop. "Oh, what do I do?" And big old Eddie Duffy puts his arm around him and says, "Buddy, you're going to be fine, because I got your back. And if anyone ever does anything to you, you tell me, and I'll take care of them." Back in 1979, things like that happened. And the kid said, "Okay, thanks, Eddie." And all of us freshmen, we just started to clap. I was changed that day. Eddie Duffy changed my life. I was a scared little freshman, and I knew I made the right choice by going there. I never was able to meet Eddie Duffy personally. Everyone knew who he was. I was in the band. I was at every game, 50-yard line. Everyone knew Eddie. They called him the mayor of 63rd Street. Eddie was just this big old kid. And he was a normal kid. He wasn't some saint or anything. Just a normal kid, but he loved everyone. Eddie could have been the biggest bully in the school. Instead, he was a bully buster. That's why everyone loved him. And he loved everyone. He just was a happy kid. But I never met him, never was able to thank him. Because at the senior trip, when they went to Florida after exams before graduation, by this time Eddie had a full ride to play at Iowa. I was giving this talk at a parish in Iowa, and a man came up to me and said, I remember him. I remember him. Well, when you're a kid from the south side of Chicago, we know about lakes, but we don't know about oceans, do we? And oceans win. I don't care how big you are, how strong you are. Eddie was in the ocean, and a riptide came, pulled him down, and he drowned. He died. Saddest day, I was in the band. We were the ushers handing the programs out at the graduation mass. Seeing his mom and dad come up to the altar to receive his diploma after they just buried him. Fast forward, that was 1980. Fast forward 25 years, 2005. I'm now the principal of St. Rita High School. It's our 100th anniversary, 1905, 2005. One of our dads says, Father Tom, I want to do a video that we'll show down at the gala we were going to have at Michigan Avenue at the Hilton Hotel. And so I said, that's great, we'll show it on the big screen. So he interviewed about 20 alums, and I was one of them. And the only thing he said is, tell me your favorite St. Rita story. And I told the Eddie Duffy story. Well, not only did we show it, we then had, everyone got a DVD on their dinner plate as a gift to take home. Well, somebody gave that DVD to Mrs. Duffy, Eddie's mom. I get a 2-page tear-stained letter. She said, Father Tom, you have no idea what you've done for me. To know that 25 years after my Eddie died, he's still making a difference. I call her. I said, Mrs. Duffy, can I take you to lunch? I want to meet you. Never met her. I said, I want to know everything about Eddie. We go out to lunch. She tells me everything. She always felt sorry. She said, I should never have let him go. I said, Mrs. Duffy, it wasn't your fault. Everyone went. You know, that's an accident. You don't know. We became buddies. We became friends. She told me everything about Eddie. And by that time, I was given retreats since 1995. I said, I probably have told to tens of thousands of people the Eddie Duffy story. And I use it on all my youth retreats, all my confirmation retreats, and I tell it here at a parish mission. I think I'm over 1 million people that have heard the Eddie Duffy story. Eddie Duffy is my hero. He changed my life. I hope he's going to change yours. Because every one of us can be an Eddie Duffy, or we can be the jerk sophomore. What was the jerk sophomore's name? I don't know. Why would I know the name of a jerk? So friends, Eddie Duffy was a bully buster. You and I can be a bully buster in every aspect of our life. And I'm not just talking to our young people, I'm talking to everyone. How are you and Eddie Duffy? You know what your homework is? Go home and Google Eddie Duffy, St. Rita, Chicago. All of it will come up. You'll see a picture of him. You tell me if he has a neck. Okay? That's your homework. Google Eddie Duffy. And then be an Eddie Duffy. Make a difference in the world. Eddie Duffy is my hero, and I will continue to tell his story. But it's a struggle at times to live out this restless journey. We can struggle. It's not always easy. How do you live it out? I can remember when I was a kid, I made fun of people who use food stamps. I don't know why, but I was a jerk.
5 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock.
Why do you keep encouraging them? You're a man of your word, aren't you? You're a good man. Thank you. Thank you. Keep being a man of your word. Be an Eddie Duffy. Stick up for everyone, okay? Awesome. Good man. Thank you. Thank you. Where was I before I was so rudely interrupted? food stamps, good man. I don't know why I was making fun of people with food stamps, but I probably heard someone's talk about it. I said, oh yeah, look at those lazy people taking my tax dollars. I was like 12. I wasn't paying any tax. Until one day I'm at the store with my mom and she pays with food stamps. And I was like, Mom, what is this all about? Mom, what's this all about? We're not poor, Dad has a job. And she said, her sister, Aunt Teresa, who lived with us, she paid rent. She was very sickly and she went between her 5 sisters for a month at a time, and she would pay with food stamps to pay her rent. And I was like, I can't believe this. Here I am making fun of people, and now what if they're looking at me? It goes back to don't judge, friends. Don't judge. Someone who uses food stamps, they don't want to use food stamps. How do we live out the rest of this journey? My niece, Megan, said, hey, Uncle Tom, you want to be in the 3-day breast cancer walk with me? We're going to walk for my mother. I said, good. What do you have to do? You have to raise $800. No problem. I can do that. But you got to walk for 3 days, 20 miles each. I said, oh, that's easy. That's like walking between Western and Kedzie 20 times. I could do that. Yeah, in a car I can do that. She said, now you gotta train. You gotta get up to, no problem. So I asked Brother Gary, I looked at him, I said, hey, you want to go on this thing? We've raised over $2,000. And we went 4 times to train. We'd go drive our car to Beverly, where half our students were from. We'd walk around talking to everyone. They'd stop here, you want a beer, you want to have something to eat? And then when we were done, we went to Rainbow Cone and ate ice cream cones. Boy, that was a great workout, okay? We get to the 60-mile, 20-day first one. We're walking, this is great, this is awesome, beautiful day, no problem. About 10 miles, we're like, wow, this is, how many more miles we gotta go? People are walking. I said, maybe our training wasn't that good. So we, about 15 miles, we're like, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable, okay? Then we're at that like 17-mile mark, and we're like, oh my, I don't think I can finish this. We get to the 19-mile mark. We stopped at a church that was like a first aid station. We're sitting there, Brother Gary takes off his shoe, his toenail fell off. I was like, oh, that's disgusting. And I'm like this, the last one, people in wheelchairs are passing us. And we get to the camp, and it's like, I said, Gary, I don't know about you, but I'm leaving. I'm going to a hotel. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. So I called Megan over. I said, Megan, I'm sorry. I was a fool. I was an idiot. I was dumb. I said, I raised a lot of money, but I can't finish. She said, Uncle Tom, you did 20 miles. Be proud. And then I said, yeah, I am proud. I walked 20 miles for breast cancer, and I raised $2,000. And then I went home in a hotel. And then I went back out on Sunday and waved to them as they all walked by their thing. See, sometimes we screw up. Sometimes we don't prepare. And that's okay. Get right back up. I walked 20 miles. When you have to walk 60 miles, practice. So friends, that's the rest of this journey. That's the rest of this journey. Those are my thoughts for tonight. How are you entering the rest of this journey? How are you living it out? How are you putting a rose on Elvis's grave when you say you're going to? How are you using the gifts God gives you and the gifts other people have given you? Don't just ask, what does it mean to get a D and slide through life? And re-gift the faith. Keep it and then give it away. And when little Sister Pauline gives you some coffee, drink it. And you might get a relic of St. Peter. And Ray Reiki, God used little Ray Maloney to tell Maureen that her husband was all fine. And how are you being an Eddie Duffy? How are you being a bully buster? Don't be a jerk sophomore. Don't make fun of people using food stamps because you don't know their story. And when you have to do a 60-mile breast cancer walk, practice, train, but at least do it. Last thing I'm going to say is this. Little boy walking on the shore. The tide comes in and all the starfish are there, and he's going around throwing the starfish back in. A grumbling, miserable person comes by. Says, what are you doing, kid? He says, well, I'm throwing all these fish back because if the starfish, if I not, the sun's going to come and kill them. He says, look at how big this ocean is. Look at this, look at them all. You're never going to make a difference. It doesn't matter what you do. And he says, well, it matters to this one. And he threw it in the ocean. Don't be a grumbling, old, miserable, young, old, whatever person. But be the one who makes the difference for the one. St. John Henry Cardinal Newman says, to grow is to change, and to change is to... Wait, I didn't say it right. To change is to grow, and to grow is to change often. To change is to grow, and to grow is to change often. Friends, that's the restless journey. Are you ready? Enter the restless journey. Thank you for being here these 3 nights. Enter the restlessness. Don't give up. Don't give up in how good it is that we are here. Amen? Amen. Amen. Now let us stand and we will have our prayers that we will offer to God in our prayer of the faithful.